So you're linking to this tutorial because you are struggling to stay in the third person point of view. And this is an important skill that I've underlined right from the very first video lecture of this course. So it's really important that you learn how to write and stay in the third person point of view throughout your essay. So let's talk really quickly about the three different points of view. The first person point of view is I, me, mine, myself, we, us, ourselves. This is the type of writing that you would find like in a personal narrative where you're telling a story about your life, or perhaps in a diary or something like that, like a Yelp review. It's pretty informal writing, and it's certainly not the type of writing that you're going to do in an academic essay. I'm fine if you briefly go into first person point of view when you're doing your responses. Like if I have you read an essay or watch a documentary and you briefly kind of say, I think this or I think that, I'm fine with that. But in terms of major papers that you're writing for this class, you're never going to use the first person point of view. The second person point of view, you should usually just never use at all. It's when you say you, yours, yourself, yourselves. It's very hypothetical. It's a weak way of writing. Don't ever use the second person point of view. This is the type of writing you found as like a kid and when you read like choose your own adventure type books. It's the worst type of writing. Never use the second person. The third person is the type of writing that you want to focus on for these essays. It's like he, she, it, him, her, his, hers, himself, herself, itself, they, them, theirs, themselves. Or if you're talking about a certain group of people, you're going to say today's students don't focus so much. Today's students are incredibly distracted by digital technology. You wouldn't say today we're distracted by digital technology, right? Even though you may be a student, you're going to speak about the students more objectively by calling them students instead of linking yourself into that part. So you never really ever wanted to break third person. You kind of always want to stay back and be more objective. So it's almost like I kind of think of it this way. It's almost like writing in third person is like being God in a way. And you're looking down on society and you're making all these observations and arguments about society. But by writing in the third person and not including yourself as part of that society, you're able to sound more objective and argumentative. So stay in third person point of view throughout your entire essay. So let's take a look at some examples. So an incorrect thing would say, I think digital technology is harmful to people's communication skills. All right, that's nice that you think that. But let's take a look at the correct way. Digital technology is harmful to people's communication skills. Aha, you see what you did there is by getting rid of that I think and stating this argument as if it were a fact, you make it much stronger. Let's take a look at this next example. For example, if you were studying and scrolling through Instagram at the same time, you would be incredibly distracted and likely do a poor job focusing on the task at hand. Well, I, as your professor, am not really a big Instagram fan. I don't have Instagram. So I would never be scrolling through Instagram and studying. So it's really weak writing to try and put me in that position by saying the word you, which is why you never use second person you in your academic writing. So let's take a look at a better way to say something like that. For example, people who study and scroll through Instagram at the same time are incredibly distracted and likely do a poor job focusing on the task at hand. Perfect. You got rid of you. Now it's much stronger and it's more applicable to society versus trying to put it on me, the reader, who might not even have Instagram. So that's why you don't use second person point of view. So this is a big deal in your writing. In fact, I've gone over it so much that I take off significant points in your outlines and in your final drafts when you are messing this up. So you're going to see this on the final grading rubric. Does the writer fail to use the third person point of view throughout the entire essay? In other words, the writer should be writing he, she, they, people, society, etc. The writing should not contain the words we, are, us, I, me, or you. Those words may only be used in quotations from sources. So if you're using a quote from another writer as evidence and it contains something like that, that's fine. But you yourself are not writing those words. Otherwise, there is a pretty big point deduction. So if you have any questions on that, please let me know. Otherwise, you definitely want to stay out of first and second person. Focus on the third person point of view.